Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play Team. This actual play uses the Old Gods of Appalachia rules by Monty Cook Games. This actual play is performed by adults and contains adult themes. We welcome you to our hollers and the depths beneath them, but take caution. For all content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living or from places unknown, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's tale, I will be your game master. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways Podcast. I am your game master this evening, Michael Diamond, and my pronouns are he, him, and we are back with another episode in our Old Gods of Appalachia story family reunion. And so we want to welcome you in and thank you for listening, and especially thank our Patreon supporters for joining us. They have asked us to play Old Gods of Appalachia. That's one of the reasons why we're playing it. And so we hope that they're enjoying this tale so far. The search for Charlotte will continue, but just so you're aware, you can check out what we have to offer on Patreon at patreon.com/The Old Ways Podcast. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. So just type in The Old Ways Podcast over on YouTube and you'll find our channel. Subscribe. See some of us at live conventions and in other forms. So some of our video on demand stuff gets supported there from Twitch. And if you want to join us on Twitch, you can too. So that's twitch.tv/The Old Ways Twitch. And now we will get to player introductions, which begin to my right.
Hey there, I'm Bunny. My pronouns are she, her, and I play Ivy Holloway, who's just hoping we can get those children back. Charlotte especially, but any still alive would be nice.
Wouldn't it? It'd be right nice. And next to Ivy.
Hi, I'm Mare, pronouns she, her, and I'm playing Clara Carr, who has seen something, knows what it means, and is not very happy about it, but doesn't want to, cause a panic yet.
No reason to cause a stir just yet. And last, but most certainly not least.
I'm Morgan, pronouns she, her, and I play Preacher Elijah Carr. Pronouns are he, him, and he really does know what the fox does say at this point.
As many of our listeners will remember, Pastor Cousin Elijah transformed himself into a fox last game. And so we're going to just allow that transformation to roll on into this episode, because who doesn't like the thought of a bubbly, wonderful fox, possibly slightly drunk, in the back of a wagon as two wonderful ladies head south towards a steel mill. And so we'll raise the curtain tonight on a dark road, headed south to a even darker and disused steel mill. So the Tipton Steel Mill has been around for quite a while. In fact, it's really one of the reasons why the railroad came here at all. It's all part of the plan, so they said. Unfortunately, the local economy and the local business didn't really keep up its end of the bargain. And so the steel mill sometimes runs and sometimes doesn't. And so we get a lot of wayward people that come back and forth to Tipton when the mill is running and then when it isn't. As the wagon continues its pace towards it, the two of you who are probably on the bench of the wagon up front, I'm assuming that Ivy likely still has the lantern out front trying to give Clara a clear field of view so that way she can direct the horses. The two of you fairly easily catch sight that one of the main doors of the steel mill is just slightly ajar, which gives this void of dark space between where the walls are supposed to come together at. And for you, Preacher Cousin Fox Elijah, you have managed to somehow get your flask open. And your stick-to-itiveness is rewarded by sweet and potent brew. So what are you all doing?
Clara looks at the open door and just kind of hisses between her teeth, sucks, her tongue against him, is like, I was really hoping that was going to be shut.
It could be not, Charlotte. Something else could have opened it, though I'm not sure that would be better.
The something else is not going to be better. And she sitting there, would take out one of the feathers and show it to Ivy.
Would I know what that is?
I guess it depends on some of the skills you have. I mean, this is essentially it's a creature of legend.
My areas of knowledge are, when it comes to magic, it'd be understanding and using magic but not crafting it.
Mm-hmm.
I think those would be the most relevant knowledges I have, actually.
Yeah, I'll just say that it's, you'd know, Ivy would know that it's not from a bird that you're familiar with. This isn't some eagle feather. This isn't some big crow feather. That's a big bird.
Some haint or booger or something that bird-like. Got it. So, this is what you picked up by the tree while I was drawing, Clara?
Yes, I did. And she looks around in all the directions and kind of looks back to her. It's some real bad thing. It's a snallygaster. These things are hideous. They can pick up full-grown men. They're beastly and unnatural. And we're hanging around that tree at some point. And as she's looking around, looking at that, she would sniff a little bit and smell the strong alcohol, maybe?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
She would smell it, thinking that smells a little rare, but also not sure if Pastor Cousin Fox, Elijah, has decided to change clothes, change form. It's kind of like cautiously peeks over her shoulder and sees, do I see a fox downing a flask of straight liquor? Or...
No. You see a dance of sort being done under a series of clothes and likely the blanket you have in the wagon. You don't really know what's going on there, but there are a lot of, we'll just say, cute noises happening under that blanket, along with a little bit of a rattle coming from something you're not really sure.
Okay, great. Just sees him back there, shrugs, and looks back ahead. So that's one of the reasons I was hoping this door would be shut.
That makes sense. I want to tilt the lantern up towards the roof of this place. What's the condition of this roof? Are there any like large holes or gaps or anything?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of gaps. Yeah. About large, maybe not terribly large, but this roof ain't seen, healthy work in probably some time.
Clara, I have a question for you in the gnarled bird thing that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Why would it need to use a door?
That's a good question. I don't rightly know.
I think we have more than one concern here.
Wonderful. And so Clara is going to, having pulled the cart to a stop to look at this, is going to reach back around to underneath the bench of the car and pull out the hunting rifle, one of her equipment pieces that she's got, and takes the strap and puts it around her as she steps out of the cart and then reaches a hand up to offer it to Ivy.
Take her hand. Clara, I'll do whatever I need to do for you and your kin, but this seems like a problem.
Tipton has always had a way about it. It's kind of stuff that people don't like talking about. Because if you talk about it, it becomes a little too real.
I get what you mean, but do you think that Ivy will use her free hand to sort of gesture towards the back of the wagon where the clothing's moving and the pungent smell's coming from? Do you think he's more useful this way, or a little too easy of a bait?
Clara takes a look at him. At first has the look of, I don't know about it. Then you say the word bait. Her eyebrows tilt forward a little bit. Her head cocks to the side. And she starts thinking about it. Hey, Pastor. Are you joining us, or are you gonna sniff around here? What you want to do?
A happy fox head pokes out from underneath the blanket and makes a happy little fox noise. Is there an opening to in the back of the cart?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So I'll jump behind the cart and revert back
Okay. You revert back.
in all my glory.
It's a little breezy.
Yeah. I'm still wearing the deer teeth necklace. I was wearing that the whole time.
Clara turns around, facing away, covering her eyes, nudges Ivy to do the same, just in case Ivy had, the urge. I mean, it's kind of fox. Does it even make him a man? Like, he can turn into other stuff. Yeah, it's just a thought. As he's naked back behind us.
My, Clara. Am I sensing a hint of jealousy in this?
I don't get jealous. I make observations.
You observe whenever I look at the pants on another woman, or?
I mean...
Yeah, totally normal observations.
It is a normal observation. You were making it obvious. It's not even an observation. I was just looking, having eyes. And she starts loading. She starts loading up the rifle as she's talking. And she's like, you know what? We can have this conversation later after we go and get my cousin.
Sure. Just, now I know the line is drawn at noticing purple pants and having eyes on street corners. But okay, sure. Totally normal observations. You would never be jealous of anything I do. Why would you be?
Clara points at the blinders that are on the mule that's pulling the cart and says, careful, those might be for you.
Do you need some of those?
And I'm standing back here naked listening to all this. I do declare, can y'all argue later and give me my pants? It's a little drafty.
They're back there.
You got hands now.
Unless you spilled booze on them.
I might have. I climb over and my bare butt is over the back of the cart. And I hopefully not getting splintered in the front because that would hurt. And I grab my underoos and my pants.
First of all, them's britches. Let's be clear.
Grab my britches.
Them priestly britches.
That's right. Pastor Cousin, you get dressed and get appropriately prepared. There is still this foundry, this steel foundry in front of you. Still dark, still waiting. Its door open.
I have various herbs and tinctures and poultices and that are mostly for treating wounds, disinfecting things. I'm going to make sure I have those in the pouch that I keep on me rather than in the cart, just in case.
Clara also has a moment, and it's going to take us a little bit. Clara's not looking forward to going inside of here. And so she has a second and just says, okay, just hold on a moment. And out of one of her pouches, grabs 2 sticks and begins to wrap burlap and a handkerchief around them to create a crow baby. As a mystical sage who crafts powerful objects, I have the items on me for to craft 1 cipher.
Okay. Does it give there in the description the roll you have to make, or you just get to make it?
Under my skills, I have Magic Crafter. You are trained in crafting ciphers and artifacts. It's an enabling thing. Let me pull up at tier 1, I have Magic Crafter. And so it's you're a crafter, but not just any crafter. Everything you make's got a touch of magic to it. So I have a bag of tools, a notebook for recording recipes. I also start out with materials sufficient to craft 1 cipher. So for this, I believe that I am able, it does not say anything for roles. It says enabler. So I guess it enables me to do it as opposed to it being an action.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does. So like
Okay.
crafting ciphers has a difficulty tree all of its own and a time. So essentially you could probably craft a level 1 cipher with about 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to spend an hour, you could craft a level 2 cipher. I don't think Crow Baby has a level dependency on it, right?
Crow Baby does have a level dependency. It says level 1d6 plus 1.
Okay, so you would basically need to spend an hour to craft Crow Baby to meet the minimum, which would be 2, right? Because it's 1d6 plus 1, so the absolute minimum level it can be is 2.
Okay. So I'm just going to stand out here for an hour with my sticks, my burlap, and a handkerchief.
Hold on a second. So the crafting cipher rules on 154 say the amount of time it takes to craft a cipher is determined by the assessed difficulty. So decreasing the assessed difficulty not only means the character is more likely to succeed, but also that they have to expend less time. So we can jump up to page 155.
Okay.
And you could say, I'd like to craft a cipher of level 4 difficulty.
I am trained in crafting ciphers and artifacts.
Yeah, so you could use that as your trained skill to drop it by 1. And then you could also use intellect, your intellect pool, to drop it by another. And then basically roll against a difficulty of 6, provided you were willing to spend the intellect pool points.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do that. So I'll spend how many out of intellect?
Since your intellect edge is 1, it'd be 2.
2? Okay, so I'll drop it down by 2. And then I will, I will use that and then now roll against it by reducing it by 1 with my trained
Right.
feat. Okay.
Yeah, because you're trained in how to make them.
All right. So my difficulty is now 9 or 6.
6.
Hey. That's a 16.
Okay, fabulous. So you spend a little time outside and you make a Crow Baby.
And I take that Crow Baby and I hand it to Ivy. So what this Crow Baby does, it is a small device. It is a small cipher. She says, keep this on you once we're in there. So everything that happens in there is only going to get 1 shot at it. So it is a simple doll made of 2 cross sticks, which are wrapped in burlap and a handkerchief. And she looks at it and says, we'll just call him Earl right now. So you name the Crow Baby and keep it on your person. For the next day, the first time you would take damage, the Crow Baby takes the damage instead, cracking in half.
Thank you for Earl, she says, unsure, and just sort of tucks him into her vest.
Take care of him, he'll take care of you. And she has her rifle nearby. All right, let's do this. You got the lantern?
Ivy's gonna think for a second and then make Earl a little more comfortable of a place in her vest. Take care of him and he'll take care of you sounds like he might want to not just be shoved in a pocket. So yeah, I have everything I think I need. I have my equipment on me. I have the lantern. Are we sure we're ready to do this?
You got everything you need, Pastor Cousin?
I sure do. When I grab my baseball bat out of the back of the cart.
Okay. You head in to the steel foundry. So this is essentially where steel and many other different metals are forged. It produces metal when it's up and running. You would also know that in general, a foundry is usually a very hot place because of all of the pits that are used to smelt and to break down metals. Which is why walking into this place and feeling it be just bone-chilling cold is so different. There are no lights on in Tipton Steel. Only the lantern, a little hooded for direction, slowly sheds some illumination across the different platforms, the stairs, There's a lot of poured concrete in here that makes up the base of what things are. You can see the large metal buckets or some type of bucket that sits over one of these locations. It's again cold. In the upper spaces of Tipton Steel, you can see that there are windows, or there once were. Many of these have cracked and broken. Probably not uncommon that local kids take rocks and throw them at windows and play and have fun, but this is something different. It's as if Tipton Steel has been left for disrepair. You're not really certain when the last time was that this foundry actually was up and running. And you hear birds in here. A fluttering of wings here and there. Maybe those are crows, maybe they're something else, but they react to the soft treading of feet down below. To your left and right, you see that there are other doors here. Just regular old standard man-sized doors. There's a couple of them that are open, one on the left and right. And if you're looking to glean a little bit more information from Tipton Steel, I'm going to require a perception roll. We'll just say difficulty 4 to pick up on this feature.
Does my mystic sense go off?
Yes.
Is there a particular door where it goes off more?
No, actually, both the one on the left and the right give your senses a little bit of a shock.
Clara scrunches her nose as if she is smelling something terrible, almost like it itches, and almost like allergies, the way that it tingles. Oh, I don't know, man. Something's behind each of these.
Are there any noticeable tracks or little muddy footprints or anything anywhere?
That again would be a roll based on the light that you have. I would say I'll give you free and clear this. There's definitely dust and dirt on the floor, and there does look like there have been people through here within the past maybe day or two. If you're looking for anything specific, like say tiny footprints or smaller footprints, that's definitely a roll.
So reminding you that I have a skill for noticing small details and things.
Yep.
I rolled a 10 just now, trying to be perceptive.
9 or better would be your roll, given your specialization. You do find smaller tracks, shoes, along the way here. They seem to go towards the center point of the plant.
Hey, Clara, look at these. Do these seem like they're small enough to be your cousins?
Clara looks at them, and if they look childlike, do they look like normal walking?
This looks like probably somebody who's having a little bit either of a good time or a bad time because they're moving a little fast.
I'm going to follow them.
Clara has the rifle easily accessible and follows behind. Come on, Pastor.
Hell yeah. Am I sensing danger?
I'll say it's a difficulty 4 challenge, so it'd be a 3. So with your skill, so 9 or better.
Question on the difficulty. So it's a task difficulty 3, but with the target number is 9, right?
Yeah, so normally the task to sense any sort of danger or imminent danger in this space would be 4.
Mm-hmm.
But because you're skilled in doing that, it's easier for you to do it. So it's 3. So that's multiplied by 3, and then 9 is what we get. So you need to roll 9 or better on D20.
Okay. Well, I got a 4. So I am sensing no danger. It is all good here.
Yep. Ivy, you and Clara feel a little wind whip through this steel mill. From the left side to the right side. And just the faintest of laughter. A young girl's giggle travels along with it.
I'll head towards it, just sort of instinctually considering why we're here.
Clara follows.
In the center portion of this steel mill, there is an office. You can see it sort of built into the space, concrete walls. There are a couple of windows here for ventilation. There's no light on in that office, but your lantern illuminates that the office is there. And without warning, the door creaks. This is a door to that office that would open in, and it creaks as the door opens. And you see a gentleman in a suit and hat walk out of that space. He's moderately handsome looking, not memorable really in any way, but as that lantern gives some light to his position, you can see that one of his eyes is a steel gray, as if it had been plucked out and replaced with a ball of steel. He reaches up and holds onto his hat for a moment. Good evening.
Evening, sir.
He steps out more fully into the light and you see that he's carrying a briefcase. Well, there are a couple of the Rourke family here, huh? Where's that car? Your blood mingles these days, so it's hard to tell.
And who might we have the pleasure of speaking with this evening?
Oh. Names. Everybody loves them. You can call me Mr. Smith.
All right, Mr. Smith. You from around these parts?
Oh, I'm from all over. But I get around most of these places when you see these spots. He sort of gestures to the floor where there are clear, like, shoe prints. You all searching for something. Or someone.
I know this is a weird time to be here and a weird kind of person to expect in a place like this, but you haven't seen any children here, have you?
Oh, ma'am, that would be telling.
Telling of what?
You didn't happen to hear a giggle in the air a minute ago, did you?
Giggle? Not where I'm from. Although my ears, they don't hear as well as they used to, you understand.
That's fair, mister, that's fair. We're looking for a girl and we just happened to hear one in this here mill just a few moments ago. So we were hoping maybe she might be somewhere in one of these rooms. That's all.
Well, I don't think she's anywhere here in these rooms. I think she's long gone.
I declare, what would make you say such a thing?
He steps further into the center of where this mill is. He's not getting terribly close. I wouldn't say that he's physically powerful, right? So he isn't very tall either. He's just average height, average build. What would make me say that? Well, simply put, I know everything living and some things not living that are here right in this mill. And when he says it, there's like a look that he gives you that is just ice right down your spine.
Ivy will break the silence after shifting uncomfortably a few times. Unliving, you say?
Well, certainly. Not everything here draws breath anymore. Some things which have come have now passed. When he says that, all of you hear things crawl just at the edge of your perception on the ground. It almost at first sounds like leaves are rustling, and then you realize that there are likely no leaves in this mill, and it's awful dark where the lantern isn't pointing.
I'll uncomfortably sweep the lantern a little to the side, then the other way.
Oh, you wish you hadn't. You sweep it left and then to the right, and all along the edges of these work areas, spilling out over some of the desks, and then even packed into some of the cubby holes and tables and shelves that are here, you find these wriggling long millipedes and other beetles and insects. They react to the light by squirming and trying to find a way to stay hidden. Now, don't mind them. I'm sure they'll be just fine. You said you were looking for someone, hmm?
That's right.
One of our kin.
Yeah.
A Rourke or a Carr, as you seem to apparently know.
He sniffs the air. Oh, yeah. You got a smell.
A smell.
Mm-hmm. Anyone that's got the knack's got a smell. And I know you got the knack. Now, I can help you. I really can. He takes off his hat. You see that his black hair is sort of slicked back to one side. I'll make you a deal. We'll play a little game. You and I. And if you win, I'll tell you what you're looking for and where it's at.
And if you win?
Well, if I win, you have to take a walk with me.
Ivy's going to step a little in front of Clara. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't speak for the lady. She can speak for herself, but I know the way I was raised by my granny is I don't make any deals with no haints or buggers or weird things that hang out in mills in the middle of the night that know every unliving thing in the area, especially if I don't even know what it calls itself, let alone what other people call it. There ain't no way me or this lovely lady here are going on a walk with you tonight, mister. So we're just gonna take a few steps back, search these other rooms for our little girl, and get on out of here. No games played at all. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, all right then. He takes his hat and affixes it back onto his head. You all have a good night. And good luck with your search. He turns around towards the back of the mill. And he walks very slowly out of the lantern light. Purposeful, yet not too fast. And then from the darkness, you hear, "That's an awful shame, too. Charlotte seemed real nice."
I'm going to look over my shoulder at Clara, who I'm sure is itching to say something.
And Clara takes a moment to look back at Pastor Elijah.
Well, what do you ladies reckon we do now?
I know what I just said, but if he has Charlotte, I think we better walk towards the back of this here mill, don't we?
I reckon you're right. Should have let me take the bat to that odd guy.
You still could. He doesn't seem like he's too far off.
Just saying that we're not playing his games doesn't mean that you can't step forward and take a bat to him. I just said we weren't going to make a deal with the guy.
It was really dark that way, and I saw what was over there with your lantern light, and I think I'll stick with you guys.
I'll keep the lantern pointing in your direction. And just walk ahead of me a little, and it'll be fine.
Okay, so you're going to walk a little deeper.
I think we gotta go towards where his voice just came from when he mentioned Charlotte's name, so yeah, I guess.
Are there any interesting, would you say, supplies, useful kinds of doodads and materials and maybe even things like rat's bones, tiny bones and stuff like that that could catch the eye of someone who wants to craft something on the quick?
Ooh, do you want to put your hands down in the dirt and look for bones?
You know what? Yeah.
Okay. So you put your hands down in the dirt of the mill and you start searching. Even with a little bit of light from the lantern, the mill's got an awful lot of film on the ground. And you dig in really deep, probably 2 or 3 inches. You get probably halfway up most of your fingers. And you can feel sort of this film come off onto your fingers. And you feel the first just couple of pieces of bone that come back out. Little tiny pieces. Maybe that's a mouse. Maybe this is part of a squirrel. And that it's not. It's not a mouse or a squirrel. These are old. These are too big. This is way too big of a bone to be from a tiny animal. And I would like you to make me a difficulty 3 defense roll against a mental effect that goes off.
So talk me through real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Do me a favor. Talk me through real quick how to get up and above a certain number. Do I spend the number of intellect points?
Okay, so there's a couple ways to do it. So it's a challenge rating 3, so it's 9 or better on a die.
I got a 4.
Okay, so you'd have to find a way to reduce, right, that to a challenge weighting 1 roll. So do you have anything within Sage that gives you any sort of bonus against mental attacks or anything that would give you bonuses to mental defense?
You have not given us any XP, I imagine. Any just...
I haven't. And because I have not used the GM intrusion just yet.
Okay, fair. Okay. Could I argue that being a supply finder, looking for those various materials, that I may have been prepared to find something like this?
I think the tough part for you that you're going to find is it's probably going to be pretty costly to get this number where you need it to be.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that this one is just a fail on it.
So what you could do is you could apply effort to this. Effort would ease it by 1 step. So it would go from 3 to 2. That's 6. So effort is usually you have 1 effort to start. So basically effort eases the target number by 1 automatically. So for beginning character, applying effort requires 3 points of the stat from the appropriate pool. Thus, if your character tries to dodge an attack and wants to increase the chance of success, you can apply effort by spending 3 points from your given pool. Now for you, with edge, that is 2. You don't have to apply effort if you don't want to. We're trying to actually make this roll. So do you have a skill that has any sort of potential beneficial effect to it?
No, everything that I have revolves around crafting and magic and seeking out materials, not necessarily being prepared for what I may find along the way.
So the only way you're going to be able to make the roll is if you were to spend, essentially, you'd have to spend 5 points from your intellect pool to pass this test because of what you rolled.
Okay, I will spend the 5.
Okay.
That's a lot of intellect points.
You become overcome. We'll talk about how we regain pool points, though. It's okay because you can immediately recover a D6 pool points as basically a 1-round action.
Okay.
So you can get them back. You can get a portion of them back if that's what you want. What you become accosted by is the idea that you are handling the bones from someone who is young, because these bones are too big to be bones from an animal. And you feel as if someone is projecting that thought into your brain. And you call upon that mental fortitude that you have built up to push that thought out. And when you do, whatever's in your hand sort of crumbles to dust. The other two, Ivy and Elijah, you see Clara go through this sort of bout of horrific realization.
Clara stands with a jolt, gasping and immediately starting to wipe her hands.
Elijah, what are you doing? Like during this entire thing, continuing down the path towards this person who was there?
When I grabbed my bat out of the cart, I also grabbed my travel pack. So that does have a flashlight in it.
Okay, cool.
So I would have remembered that suddenly while I'm sobering up after seeing the weird Southern gentleman with the hat and the bugs that Ivy had made very noticeable. So I would have remembered I had a flashlight at that moment and yanked it out of my bag and, started backpack on
Mm-hmm.
like Dora the Explorer and a flashlight and a bat in the other hand.
It doesn't take you but maybe 6 or 7 strong steps then to catch sight of this Mr. Smith walking away. And when your light hits his back and you sort of continue to be propelled forward by this urge and this need to find a family member, he turns around. He sort of stops and turns around. Easy. Where you going with that bat?
Well, good sir, I don't want to have to practice my swings, but I will. But you do right by my cousin and me and tell me where Charlotte is.
I'm happy to tell you where she is, provided you are willing to engage in our little, we'll call it a contest. It's very simple. I would have explained it to Clara, but, she has a friend who has no interest. Well, what do you say?
Well, what do I got to lose except my life? My soul's already with the good Lord. Maybe.
Of course it is. He sets the briefcase down and he extends a very simple hand. It's a deal?
Yeah, I reach out my hand and it's a deal.
Okay. You shake his hand. He shakes your hand. You feel in the depths of your gut, it is the worst decision in your life that you've made. All right, very simple now. Very simple. He rubs his hands together. I am going to pose a riddle to you, and you are going to answer it. You understand? No tomfoolery, no asking for help. That is how this works. I am a mother and a father, but I have never given birth. I'm rarely still, but I never wander. What am I?
I am terrible with riddles. I have a book, The Compendium of Demonology and Magic. Would I be able to utilize... That's a real book, by the way. Made in 1897 or something like that. Written in 1897.
Yeah, so you have a compendium on demonology.
I do.
So I think it's reasonable to say that the book might have more information about the type of entity that you're in front of, but I don't know that I could see it being used as an asset for common riddles.
Where's my 1907 almanac that might have riddles?
Right. If you had like Granny's Guide to Funny Stories, then I would be like, hell yeah, we can resolve this 2 ways, right?
Can I spend intellect?
Yes, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So this is essentially a challenge, an intellect-based challenge, right? So it's not technically a skill attribute, but it is a difficulty 4 mental challenge.
Okay.
So it's 12 or better. You could spend 3 points of your intellect pool, right, to drop this from 4 to 3, right? And that would be 9 or better. That's probably the best you're going to be able to do at this point, because I don't think you have an asset that would apply. And at that point, it's really just a roll of the dice. And if you roll, then you'll get the answer. If you roll and succeed, you'll get the answer. If you roll and fail, other things will happen.
All right. I will spend the 3 points of intellect to make it. I have to have a 9 or better?
Yes, now you have to have a 9 or better.
Okay. I got a 20.
Oh, wow. So that is a critical success. It's the best roll you could possibly have. And so you think for a moment, very long. Elijah remembers that you passed something that reminds him of this little riddle. And of course, it's a tree.
Tree?
He smirks. Well, it seems Carr family's got a little bit of brain power. Well, I'm a man of my word. He picks up the briefcase, snaps it open, and plucks from it a key. Here you are. Why don't you stop by Tipton's home for the young. Go and get Charlotte, of course, before the Grey Ladies find her. That child is awful powerful. And in case you weren't aware, Grey Ladies around here like to find children that got the knack nice and early. Train them right.
I take the key. So, which house?
No, not which house. The house. The orphanage.
Oh, yes. Okay, well,
He tips his hat to you and then turns around and turns into dust and blows away in the breeze.
I need to stop drinking.
The only remnants of Mr. Smith's presence are his footsteps, which oddly look an awful lot like goat hooves.
Yeah, I turn around and jog back to Ivy and Clara.
Okay, you arrive back. Clara, you're getting a hold of yourself after all of the mental anguish you've been through.
Clara has wiped her hands clean of the dirt and the dust and the feeling of bone beneath her fingertips, and stands collecting herself, only to see Preacher Elijah come back. Cousin, what did you do?
Well, I spoke to that odd Mr. Smith and just told him like it was, and he gave me this key. He says, Charlotte's at the orphanage.
I'm sorry. I know that I don't know you that well, and I know Clara will trust you better or know if we shouldn't or whatever, but you told him like it was, and he just gave it to you. That's the story we're rolling with, Preacher.
Listen, I don't know how they do it in your parts, but in these parts, we tell them like it is. And they just listen.
Clara rolls her eyes so hard, just as far back as they can roll. If it ain't one curse on you, it's another, cousin. I swear on it.
I sometimes swear on it too, cousin.
So we need to get to that orphanage? That's what I'm hearing.
We gotta go get Charlotte. He said something about she's skilled. I don't know, like you, cousin Clara.
Yeah, she's got the knack. She's learned it from Granny for sure. So to the orphanage. Would I know anything about the orphanage?
The Tipton House, or sometimes just referred to as the house, is a major charitable focus for the people of Tipton and even to some of the other cities around here. The Tipton House does an amazing job at basically shepherding kids who lose their parents. It's run by a charitable organization that tries to do the best they can for kids. I mean, it's late, but surely there's got to be somebody up.
Yeah, of course. They're there to take care of the children, and they simply have mistaken someone who is not a lost child, who is not a child without a home, and we shall go and reclaim her.
Okay. Making your way to the Tipton House doesn't take terribly long. Yes, you got to pass back through town, but it's basically about 30 minutes. That being said, the Tipton House is completely dark when you arrive there. It wouldn't be, well, you wouldn't expect it to be all lit up. Closer inspection as you arrive, though, shows that there are a couple of small candles in some of the rooms that seem to be on. And the light outside the front door above this beautiful front door is on as well.
Clara will step out of the cart, this time leaving the weapon back underneath the seat. Doesn't exactly feel like something you want to walk into a home for wayward children with. And she would once again stick a hand out, extend it out to Ivy to help her down from the cart. Well, should be as simple as we go to the door, we explain what has happened, and we reclaim Charlotte, and we head home. Yeah, that is the best we can hope for.
You head to the front door. You're going to knock, ring the bell, perhaps. There's a big pull handle for the bell.
Well, we got a key. Does that key fit the doorknob?
Are you going to try it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You put the key in and you slowly turn the key, and there's a little bit of stiffness to the lock, but eventually turns over.
Yeah, I open the door.
You open the door. The interior of this space is fairly dark. You expected that because you wouldn't expect there to be a ton of candles burning or lights on and whatnot, but there's a stillness here. A real stillness. Take a few steps inside the foyer here. You see left or right, there are halls that lead to any number of potential rooms. Clara, you know that the children here help support the orchard nearby. And their exchange for their room and board is working on some of these orchard fields. This is pretty close to picking season too, so it's going to be real useful to have every hand you can imagine. But just getting inside that main space and looking down one of the long hallways, they seem to go on for a very, very long time. It's as if the house is bigger than you first could imagine it on the outside. Sure enough, not but moments from being inside the house, you see a young girl, this mop of blonde and brown hair, begin hustling down one of these hallways. Her shoes just sort of lightly squeaking along polished floor. And she's hustling. Tucked under her arm is a tiny little book. And flinging through the air behind her as she holds on to it is a blanket, blue as a spring sky. But there is concern on her face, true worry. She doesn't say a word, not till she's wrapped in your arms, Clara. She leaps to you, and she whispers,
"We have to go. We have to go right now. The ladies are walking the halls. They'll see."
Then we'll go. We can tell them that they made a mistake. We'll go now.
"Don't speak to them. Don't speak to them at all."
Write them a letter. And she starts making her way towards the door.
You make your way towards the door. You turn, Ivy, you turn with her. And Elijah, just as the last eyes from the Carr family inside the house, you see at the far end of the hallway where Charlotte had come from, 3 gray feminine figures walking in this almost arrow pattern, one in front, 2 behind. Their faces darkened by some sort of shadow that confounds the available light. And you see them staring at you as you bolt out the door. And so we're going to leave the Rourke and Carr family here, headed back to the homestead, having plucked Charlotte from the Tipton house, saved her perhaps through the timely use of a riddle. And we'll leave Pastor, cousin, Fox, Elijah, Ivy, and her friend, her roommate, Clara, for another story at another time in the hills and mountains of Appalachia. So I want to thank my cast, and I would like to offer them the opportunity to perhaps tell us where we can find them amongst these social media avenues.
If you want more of my shenanigans, you'd find me mostly on Twitch as Fiery Ashes, or on YouTube as such, or on Threads as a Shy Bunny, because it me.
Okay. Mayor, where can we find you if you're not here?
If I'm not here, you can find me on social media at Oh Hello Mayor, primarily over on Threads and on Instagram. I do occasionally do my own streaming, a lot of session preps, a lot of world building over on Twitch at Oh Hello Mayor as well. And I am a one-shot queen, so keep track on my socials to find out where I will be playing weird games with weird characters, doing weird things elsewhere around the internet. And of course, here on The Old Ways.
Fabulous. Morgan, where can we find you?
Right here. No. Well, and right here. You can find me on Discord, on the Old Ways Podcast Discord, as Jedi Girl. Pop over and say hello if you want to talk movies or TV shows. I am all about that. Find me streaming on the Old Ways Twitch currently for our Shadowrun game.
So thanks, everybody. And we appreciate it. If you'd like to see us or listen to us play more Old Gods of Appalachia, now would be the time to give us feedback, because in general, the way the Old Ways works is we tell the stories that we hear our audience is interested in. So your feedback matters. So hit us up on any of our platforms. As for now, good night from Tipton and good luck.